Hello friends, in this video we will learn how to configure Angular routes in our Angular standalone application. For the demo, I have already created my application, so let's start it to understand. I have some simple routes. This is an array of route. The path is book detail that will open book component, and another path is writer detail that will open writer component. So in Angular standalone application, we have to configure it using provideRouter in application config. What is provideRouter? It sets up providers necessary to enable router. The first argument is routes and second is optional, that is some features. We will discuss here one feature. So the first argument is routes. I have already created a route. This is our routes constant, and just configure here in provideRouter, and we are done. We can test it. I have linked for these two path, book detail and router detail. Book detail, router detail. So what we have to do is create the routes and configure here within provideRouter. Pass it to the provideRouter function. We will discuss here one feature, router features. What we have to do is look into our book components. I have created some input properties, ID and bname. And in writer component, I have input property wname and city. Just I am printing them. I will bind query string with this. Look at here. This is ID and name in book component. I am passing as a query params ID and bname as query params with book detail path. Book detail will open book component, and book component we have to bind it with ID and bname. When we use provideRouter, we can do it easily. Use a feature with component input binding, and we are done. Now this ID and bname for the path book detail will bind with these properties ID and bname, and in writer detail path I have the query params wname and city, these values will be it will bind here in writer components wname and city. As we know that book detail is opening book component and writer detail is opening writer component. In this way, we can easily bind our query params with the components input properties. In both the component, I am printing them and I will run the application and we will check it. I am clicking on book detail. We can see that the values of query params here in console. And now look into the writer details thing here. So what we did is we just configured with component input binding within the provideRouter, and we are done to bind the query params with @input properties. Okay, thanks.